At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Welcome to Make It Rain with Adam Schein on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Oh, yes, Tuesday edition of Make It Rain with Adam Schein here on VSIN. And my goodness, we have so much to do today. Two of my all-time favorite guests on Make It Rain with Adam Schein are going to join us today. We have a lot to do on the NBA and all aboard the Z Train. Zach Cohen, VSIN.com superstar, betting analyst, is going to join us. We'll get into the Z Train's best bets. Hey, Z Train's been all over Minnesota and the Lakers, so let's make sure we give credit where credit is due. Then, of course, we'll have our guy Will Brinson, superstar from CBS Sports, join us to talk some NFL draft. We will get into what surprised Will Brinson. We'll get into some draft reaction and big picture plays on the NFC South. We have a lot to do with Zach Cohen, Will Brinson. Great baseball night. There are some unbelievable pitching matchups tonight in Major League Baseball. Tonight is a great night to bet the over on strikeouts, the under on runs, and take some flyers on a couple of upset specials based upon pitching matchups. Can't wait to dive into some baseball. We'll do the hockey as we move along. Let's start with the Warriors and the Rockets. And my goodness, that was tremendous by the Golden State Warriors last night. And specifically, James Buckets. Jimmy Butler. Are you kidding me? Absolutely, positively vintage from Jimmy Butler in a big spot. You see the 27 points, you see the 5 rebounds, you see the 6 assists. How about what he was able to do hitting those free throws? And let's be honest here, if I'm a Rockets fan or a Rockets bettor for the sake of conversation, if you had Houston on the money line, that was a terrible call. I mean, under no circumstance did Dillon Brooks actually foul Jimmy Butler. That's a reputation foul on Dillon Brooks, and let's be honest, he's earned it. But Jimmy Butler, 1, 2, 3, drains all the free throws, all 3 of them. That was incredible. And then that was with a minute to go, and then secures the dub for the Dubs by out-grappling, out-wrestling, out-muscling 3 different members of the Houston Rockets to secure that rebound at the end. That was incredible. That's vintage Jimmy Butler. That was awesome, and my goodness, that's all she wrote. Just tremendous. Fred VanVleet at the buzzer had a chance to tie, but his shot did not fall. The Rockets were able to cover, and I do want to stress that. And obviously the over was able to hit as well. But the Golden State Warriors, most especially, they are able to take care of business. And that was absolutely huge. Butler was tremendous. Podziemski was excellent. I thought Draymond Green was off the charts amazing. And listen, this is where if you're a Warriors fan, you love Draymond, right? Last night was a great example of why Draymond's going to the Hall of Fame. He got in the Rockets' head, and Jalen Green had a terrible game. And he'll be fine, big picture, but obviously, young fella's going to have to learn how to navigate the choppy waters of the postseason. Rockets are a great young team, not ready for prime time, not surprised by the ebb and flow here in any way, shape, or form. And listen, I think that Green getting in Dillon Brooks' face last night, all the technicals, including one on Steph that were flying, it was vintage Draymond. And, Saturday was the Steph game. Last night, Steph was, certainly the attention of Ime Udoka's incredible defense, and the others were able to step up. And look, I said originally Warriors in 6, and you see the odds board for the series. I mean, I don't think that the Rockets have another win left in them. I would be surprised. And I think Warriors in 5, and you see the odds board right here, I think that would be the play for the series. And listen, I am not surprised here to see this from the Golden State Warriors. And look, I picked the Lakers to beat Minnesota, and I thought the Lakers would beat the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have a real shot now and I'm not ready to crown Minnesota quite yet, but the Warriors have a real shot to go out and not only beat the Rockets and eliminate them in 5, but to ultimately have the ability, when it's all said and done, to go out and take care of business against the Timberwolves and ultimately get into the Western Conference Finals. So we are fired up about Golden State, feel great about watching Steve Kerr, who is a top 5 coach in the history of the association. And the more Curry, the better at this stage of his career. I love sports history. I love watching Steph work his magic. Great stuff last night with the Golden State Warriors. The way they won, Buddy Hield hit a bunch of big buckets, hit that go-ahead 3. That was huge with about 3:40 to go in the game. Unbelievable stuff from the Golden State Warriors. You gotta love sports. How about what transpired with the Cleveland Cavaliers? Our friend Adam Burke, big Cleveland sports fan over at VSIN.com, brought his broom to work today over at the VSIN headquarters because his Cavs were able to complete the sweep of the Miami Heat, and why not? And it's bring your broom to work day everywhere, unless you live in Miami. This was a complete and utter derriere kicking. My goodness. The best bets we had last night, Cavs over 109. I mean, that ticket cashed last night for the team over. That puppy cashed in the third quarter. This was an ass kicking, 73-33 at halftime. Ernie Johnson, the host of Inside the NBA, mild-mannered mensch Ernie Johnson, called it the worst half of basketball he's ever seen. They are, if you watch it on Inside the NBA, they showed bars and tones saying going to black or having no sound or no picture would have been more entertaining. And that's, against TV 101 in terms of, keeping the viewer for the second half. No one to keep. I mean, that was crazy last night. And I also think it's important here, as someone who believes in Cleveland, let's give Donovan Mitchell some love. He was terrific. Mobley was terrific. Jared Allen is just an all-around great defensive ball player, and he was stealing the ball left and right, rebounding the ball left and right. He was a force in the middle, the points and the pain. Obviously, you take a look at what Jerome brought to the table. Send it in, Jerome. Hunter, Kenny Atkinson is unbelievable. I want to make sure we give the Cavs credit because the Heat obviously, forget about 3-2-1 Cancun when it was over. It was 3-2-1 Cancun before that game started. Heat culture is dead. I don't want to hear the Heat media, the media elite who just fawns over Miami, all of a sudden just acting like, everything's okay. Heat are broken. There needs to be sweeping changes in Miami. This is a total mess. That was a non-competitive fiasco. Cavs are my pick, as you know, to win the Eastern Conference. Cavs Thunder, that has been my pick for the NBA Finals for the vast majority of the season. And I think that the Cavs deserve, frankly, more love in terms of being the Eastern Conference favorite, being a better favorite than the Celtics. I know Celtics have all that playoff experience. Boston's not 100% healthy. And Cleveland didn't just, that was not the case at all. This was one where you look at how it was sheer destruction. These 2 games in Miami, it was an ass kicking. It was domination. Loved every single second of what we saw from a Cleveland Cavalier perspective. We will have our friend Zach Cohen join us. We'll get into his take on the game from last night. And we got 4 games in the association tonight. That's great. The NBA playoffs have been off the charts. Amazing. Really, really excellent stuff. And I want to make sure we get some NFL takes into the conversation as well. How about our guy George Kittle getting paid? And listen, George Kittle is worth every single penny. And give the Bussin' with the Boys folks credit for breaking the story on George Kittle breaking the bank and getting that 4-year extension. And that was incredible. And listen, George Kittle is amazing. And now, after they make sure that they give George Kittle that megabuck contract, 4 years, $76 million, now it's incumbent upon Shanahan and Lynch. Let's pay Brock Purdy. Let's pay Fred Warner. And I think that the 49ers had a great draft. It's kind of under the radar because I think a lot of people in general are sleeping on San Francisco. Look at who they were able to obtain. And these are signature players. And Williams out of Georgia is terrific. Collins is terrific. Martin is an excellent prospect. They stacked up on defense. I love what they did. I even like Jordan James a lot out of Oregon. I thought that was an excellent pick. I think Watkins can do some things in Shanahan's offense. I'll tell you, don't sleep on the over here. And there's juice attached. I know there's a monster conversation about, all the different changes and everything that happened and getting rid of Debo and, getting rid of this guy. They had to change up the vibe in San Francisco. Doesn't mean they got worse. In a lot of ways, to me, it's reminiscent of what happened with the Buffalo Bills a year ago. Still think San Francisco is going to be a double-digit win team. Hopefully that means 11 if you bet the over. The Browns. We have quarterback news on the Browns. I get the feeling as if we're going to be saying that a lot between now and the start of the season, or frankly, when they start making quarterback changes. The Browns have declined the fifth-year option on Kenny Pickett, so he's going to be basically a one-year, $2.4 million guy for this season for Cleveland, which is noteworthy because, there are actual odds on DraftKings on who's going to be the quarterback to take the first snap in week number 1. And the betting favorite is Kenny Pickett, which is interesting. And Joe Flacco, the odds have greatly shifted. There's already been the money's moving, the market has changed in terms of Flacco now second on the list. Shedeur Sanders is going to have a real shot, same with Dylan Gabriel. I mean, Kevin Stefanski has been pretty honest. Anyone in that quarterback room will certainly be in the conversation to start at the quarterback position. The draft class was strong. I have no idea what the hell they were doing with Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. That obviously was illogical and clearly not the plan. Mason Graham obviously can play. Boy, before the nonsense, I liked the over of 5.5 before the draft. I also thought they would bring in Travis Hunter. We're officially in do not touch territory when it comes to the Browns and the over-under.
You're watching Make It Rain on VSIN, the sports betting network.
The NBA and NHL playoffs are heating up. MLB is in full swing. The Kentucky Derby is almost here. Don't just watch. Bet smarter with VSiN Pro right now. Get the full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59, saving you over 33% off the monthly price. Sign up now and get instant access to a daily recap of the best bets from all the VSiN hosts and guests. Exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. 24/7 live video and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app. Plus our Kentucky Derby betting guide dropping April the 30th with previews and best bets on the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oats. Every sport, every edge, one low price. Sign up now. VSiN.com/subscribe. VSIN.com/subscribe. Welcome back. Make It Rain with Adam Schein. And joining us right now live on the Progressive Guest Line. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him, especially if you like basketball, tennis, baseball, football, betting, sports, and money. Our guy, the great Zach Cohen, is nice enough to join us. Z-Train, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you asking, Z-Train. You always just bring the great, enthusiastic hello to the table. And listen, first and foremost, let's get into the Warriors and the Rockets. And I'll tell you, that was vintage. Vintage Draymond, vintage Jimmy Butler, vintage Golden State. Rockets didn't cover last night, Z-Train, but how about these Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, that was just an awesome game. This has been a great series. Obviously, you have a lot of personalities in this. I mentioned to a few friends last night that putting Dylan Brooks and Draymond Green on the same court is like dropping Mentos in a Pepsi. It's insane what you might get out of them. And we have gotten some real moments out of Draymond Green and some dirty plays out of everyone. And it's chippy, it's physical. They're playing defense. I love this series.
Listen, and I am fired up about the Warriors, and we had Warriors winning this series and winning in 6. I think it'll probably be 5. Rockets are not ready for prime time. Now, the winner of this series, it'll be Golden State's going to play the winner of Minnesota and the Lakers. And I have to say, and you know I love the Lakers, you guaranteed that Minnesota was going to win this series. You called that your best bet when you joined us on Make It Rain with Adam Schein. Z-Train, how did you know? And can Minnesota, let's just play the game. Start going on a little futures bets, okay? I know we're going a little premature here, but that's what we do on Make It Rain with Adam Schein. I want people to make sure that they're prepped and they're ready. If Golden State wins, if the Timberwolves win, who do you think will ultimately advance here to the conference finals?
I think it would be the Timberwolves. I think that the problem that the Rockets are having, you're seeing, is that they don't have late game scoring options. I know, Şengün had a really good game last night, but you don't trust him to go one-on-one with Draymond Green at the end of a game. The Timberwolves have those guys. Anthony Edwards is going to be able to get some buckets late for them. Putting Gary Payton Jr. is not an option on him. He's a little bit too small. Podziemski, I don't think, can guard Edwards. So I think that there are guys that are going to be able to score for Minnesota late in the game, even if it's Randall, who's just been playing unbelievable for Minnesota for the better part of 3-4 months now. I just think this is a really good, defensive team, but it's also one that was kind of built offensively for the postseason, which is why, I have some futures on them to win the Western Conference. I liked what they did this summer, kind of moving Towns with obviously, some financial implications with that trade, but I do think that they thought that Randall would be able to help them as an isolation scorer, and DiVincenzo as a spot-up shooter.
Do you think the Lakers have any chance of coming back in this series against Minnesota?
I don't think they do. It's not really that I think that there's a huge edge for Minnesota. I have a hard time believing Los Angeles is going to win 3 times in a row. I think that, there's been some close games in this series that could have gone the Lakers' way. If they did, maybe they could have won. I didn't think it was like a huge lopsided series. But yeah, winning 3 in a row seems very difficult, especially when, I don't think Los Angeles has the strongest home court advantage.
Cavs, they absolutely destroyed the Miami Heat. And first of all, I think the Cavs deserve credit, right? Because it's easy, accurate to destroy Miami, and they clearly rolled over and played dead. But you know how much I love this Cavalier team. You know I'm picking them to win the Eastern Conference. What did you see big picture last night for both Miami and Cleveland?
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm higher on the Cavaliers now than I was before the series because, I thought there were going to be opportunities in games 3 and 4 for the Heat to cover because Eric Spoelstra is just such a good, in-game coach, in series, just strategist. I think that, there were some question marks going in about whether or not Kenny Atkinson can kind of compete with him on the clipboard when it comes to making game-by-game adjustments. And obviously he did that. They got better as the series progressed. So it's not just, a scheme that Atkinson put in place that these guys are playing. He's a really good in-game coach. He's making adjustments. He's seeing things and reacting. That's what you really wanted to see. And now I feel a little bit better about them going out and beating Indiana if they do face it in the second round.
And I do think it will be Indiana. And let's be honest here, as it just sucks. Damian Lillard tears his Achilles, and I just checked my watch. It's smashed to smithereens. Dame time, done for the series, done for next year most likely. It's no good. Indiana's a great team, and I'm not just throwing that word around. I love their coach. I love their star. I love their defense. I love their role players. I love the home court advantage. I also think there's a shot, and maybe this factors in here, and you're thinking, Z-Train, it's not out of the realm of possibility. This is the final game that Giannis Antetokounmpo plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. I would not be surprised if he demanded a trade. Brooklyn, Lakers, Heat, insert team here. So what are you thinking tonight? There's a lot here that I think is interesting. And then you factor in the 8-point spread.
Yeah, I think the Pacers are going to win tonight. I parlayed the Pacers with the Pistons on an alternate spread of plus 12.5 tonight. I think that game is going to be somewhat close, but I was a little bit nervous by taking 5.5. So I just took as many as I could. But I do think this is going to be a big game for Giannis. If you're looking for player props, I'd go pretty much over on everything. He's going to go down swinging. Like you said, this could be his last game with the Bucks, and I do think it will be. I know that he's been pretty open about wanting to stay there, but he's just not the type type of guy that's going to want to waste his career, especially, the tail end of his prime. So I think he's going to be out of there this summer. I think it's going to be a crazy summer in general, because if Houston gets bounced by Golden State, they're going to be big game hunting, whether that's Giannis, or Durant, Booker. I think that there's going to be some big stars on the move. I think the Heat, we heard Bam Adebayo say it in his post-game press conference that, Riley's not going to sit there and wait around with this team. He's going to look to make moves. So I'm looking forward to the offseason as well, not just these playoffs, which have been stellar. A lot of people like to kind of, dump on the NBA playoffs and praise the NHL playoffs, but this has been so good for the NBA.
Yeah, listen, I was locked in today to Money Moves, as I always am, with JVT and Stormy, and they were going back and forth on hockey versus basketball when it comes to the postseason. I'm always locked into JVT and Stormy. 2 days together, they're doing the show, and I absolutely love it, and that whole debate was fantastic, and I think the NBA postseason's been amazing, and I'll tell you, Knicks-Pistons has been a terrific series. Games have been outstanding, and Z-Trade, let me give you a hot take. I think the Knicks kind of need to win tonight, because the Knicks were very fortunate, obviously, and I'm a diehard Knicks fan. Clearly, Hardaway was fouled. Clearly. And there were moments in that third quarter where, frankly, they were just flat out deplorable. End of the second to the third, awful. I think the Pistons are going to play tonight with their hair on fire. Obviously, desperation. They have to win, hold off elimination. Plus, they got robbed. I could say that as a Knicks fan. I think the Knicks will win. I wouldn't touch this with the points. It makes me nervous because I think Detroit is going to come to play. What are you looking for tonight with my Knicks and the Pistons?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's why I took extra points with the Pistons. Like I thought maybe 10.5 or 12.5. That's the number where you feel a little bit better about it. But the Knicks are in a situation where I agree with you. Like, they should want to wrap this up at MSG tonight. The reason I kind of lean Detroit is because there are all these very obvious moves that the Knicks need to make, like, running more Brunson and Cat pick and rolls, getting Cat more involved in general. And we could all say that they could go out and do it, and they should go out and do it, but they still have to, and they just have not shown a willingness to make big changes. So as much as it might seem like there are easy fixes to be made, I'm not sure New York's going to do it. That said, I think Detroit's going to find a way to keep this one close again. They've been competitive all series. Honestly, they've had a chance to win every single one of these games, and whether they've just taken their foot off the gas or allowed like a big run here or there, or like you said, the Hardaway foul was not called. They've had chances in every game. I don't think this will be any different, but I do think New York wins tonight, wraps up the series. I liked under 5.5 in the series. Can't, really gloat about that because, probably should not have won, but I think the Knicks get the job done at MSG.
All right, give me a couple quick plays. Clippers, Nuggets, Magic, Celtics.
I have the Clippers money line tonight. I have the Clippers to win the series, so I didn't, add anything to it, but I do love them at -122. I just think it's another series where Los Angeles has been the better team throughout, and I think that there's been some moments here or there where they took their foot off the gas, but I think if they get back to playing some good ball, they're going to go out and win, even if that game is in Denver.
And he's also rolling with Corey Joseph over 5.5 points. Z-Train, you're the best.
You're watching Make It Rain on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Derby Day is almost here. Why not make your first bets your best bets? With First Bet, you can wager on Churchill Downs, Belmont Park, and all the tracks around the world. It's pretty amazing, all from your phone. Go to firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbets.com. And the promo code VSIN200. And you get a $200 sign-up bonus. Don't miss out. Bet smarter on the Derby with firstbets.com. Welcome back. Make It Rain with Adam Schein. Joining us right now live in the Progressive guest line, one of my all-time favorites human beings, superstar from CBS. He is a betting machine. Our guy, the great Will Brinson. Will, how are you?
Doing good, Shine. Took the big weekend from the draft financially. Hit a couple longer shots, but had some big stuff on the Niners to take a defensive lineman first, Bills to take a cornerback. That went well. Gonna go and throw it out there. There's two great future bets to make right now. The Chiefs are minus 120 to win the AFC West. What the hell are we doing here? Like, that's free money. Go take it. And then if you want to parlay the Chiefs and the Bills to win their respective divisions, it's plus 175 right now. Like, get out there. Wow. Get your money in now for the 2026 season. That's free money.
You know, it's funny. I really wanted to pick the Chargers, and I still might, by the way, to win the division. Kansas City crushed it in the draft. I mean, it's kind of, under the radar, and we talked about it yesterday, and I thought they had one of the 5 best drafts. They drafted another Rashee Rice. They drafted a starting tackle. I mean, Patrick Mahomes won the NFL draft. I mean, it's kind of amazing that the Chiefs were able to do what they did. Now, obviously, you take a look at Shedeur Sanders, and this is the hottest topic, and, impacts and ramifications for, who's going to start. You can bet on that on DraftKings, the over-under for the Cleveland Browns. First and foremost, let's start with the shock and surprise. How stunned were you when Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round?
The 5th round, I was pretty surprised. I got a nice little 25-1 on Shedeur Sanders to the Browns, though, before round 3, or before the day 3, which is pretty nice. I also had Shedeur Sanders over 21.5 at plus money. Thought that was a really good look. The reality is, Shedeur Sanders is a good prospect, but the hype around him does not equal the talent and skill set of him as a quarterback. And so when he fell into the 1st round, not surprised at all. And I think when you start to look at it, how does he fall to the 3rd day? And really, like, Schein, if we take the round 4 through round 7, like, that's kind of fluid just in terms of where you go on that 3rd day. If you're a 4th round pick versus a 7th round pick, it's really not that big of a difference once you get on that 3rd day because of how teams draft. Now, but falling out of the 2nd day, I think was a pretty big shock. But then you start to hear stuff about how he performed in interviews, that he wasn't maybe ready for some of the chalkboard stuff, whether it was with the Giants or other teams, that certain owners might have taken him off of the board for their teams because of the things that had gone on. So, just the hype surrounding him. You had to remove almost like 90% of the NFL from drafting Shedeur Sanders. Like Carolina Panthers, could they use a development at quarterback? Maybe. Sure, every team could, but you can't draft Shedeur Sanders when you got Bryce Young sitting there as sort of a tenuous starter. And so I think you lost him on a lot of boards because of that. Then you lose him on some more boards because of what he does in interviews. And, then you get to a situation like Pittsburgh where they could have taken him, but they want to get Aaron Rodgers in. And I can guarantee you Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to come to Pittsburgh with Shedeur Sanders and that hype surrounding him looming and just the nonsense that comes with it. So I think all those factors combined to push Shedeur Sanders down the board. The idea it's a conspiracy, absolutely idiotic. As Steve Keim once said, former Cardinals GM, if Hannibal Lecter could ran a 4.40, he'd go in the 1st round. So, this is not a thing that the NFL doesn't want Shedeur Sanders. The talent, the marketplace, and sort of the performance in interviews just sort of matched up in a bad way for Shedeur.
Yeah, the exact line on Hannibal Lecter, if he ran a 4.3 or whatever it was, they would say he had
4.3, yeah.
Yeah, an eating disorder. Like, it'd be fine as long as he could play. As long as he could play, right? You could spin that any way. And that's applicable here when it comes to Shedeur. Yeah. Now, with that said, right, I do think once you get past the fall and the shock and the awe, and again, the Browns clearly had no plan. It's unprecedented to take a quarterback in the 3rd and the 5th. So there are odds up on DraftKings as we speak. The quarterback to take the first snap in week 1, Will Brinson. Take your pick.
Well, it's a lot. I love it. Going to take your pick. I love it. I would say that these odds are wrong. No offense to the guys at DraftKings, but Kenny Pickett shouldn't be first. I think Kenny Pickett's like plus 110 to be on the roster in week 1.
I love that.
They declined to pick up his. They declined to pick up his 5th-year option. I don't think he'll be the guy. Shedeur would have to show a lot in training camp, in OTAs and training camp in the preseason to get that first snap. Gabriel, I don't think is ready. To me, at plus 225, Deshaun Watson I don't think he's not going to be able to play. He should be 200-1. Joe Flacco is the best value on that board by far. I think Flacco should be minus 125 or something in that range, the favorite to take the first snap for the Browns in week 1 because he's a veteran. He's had success there with Kevin Stefanski's system. He's going to know how to operate. And if they'd had him for a full season that year that he came in and won comeback player of the year, I mean, they were a playoff team anyway, but maybe they win the freaking division. So I think Flacco, an easy click here when you look at if you're wanting to bet on who takes the first snap for the Browns in week 1.
I mean, did I bet this on Sunday when it was Flacco plus 1,200? Yes. Yes, I did. Thank you for asking, Will Brinson. How about the Giants and the Giants draft? I thought they absolutely cleaned up. I thought it was incredible. I'm curious to get your take on what the Giants did. And also, you look at their over-under for this year. It's 5.5 with some juice. Over-under, if you go over, plus 115. I love the draft, and I really like the over for the Giants for wins this season.
Yeah, I was on with Mitch and Paulie before the draft and told them that I think I was the sole reason that Jackson Dart went from 50-1 to 17-1 to go 3rd overall. If Jackson Dart had been the 3rd overall pick, I'd be coming to you live from an island right now. But alas, he didn't. They were able to play the board. But if you got credit to the Giants and Joe Schoen, you get Abdul Carter, probably the second best player in this draft. Maybe one of only 2 true blue chip players in this draft if he can stay healthy. Then you trade back up. You don't give away a first round pick. You get Jackson Dart, who I say I know they say they don't want him to play and Russ is going to be the starter. I would take the over at, I don't know, like anything above or anything, for like 6.5 or lower games that Jackson Dart starts. I think he'll eventually get in there if Russ struggles. Could see Russ playing okay out of the gates. Darius Alexander, a nice pickup. Cam Scatterbo is fun for this offense. We love to see that. He's like probably the number 2 back, or like sort of the Thunder Lightning with Tyrone Tracy there, I think. Devin Singletary, maybe even the odd man out after they paid him last offseason. But yeah, I would lean towards the Giants over here. I don't think 5.5. I think this is a 6, 7, 8 win team that's a little frisky down the stretch with Jackson Dart playing well. And by the way, I like Dart. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he fits Brian Daboll's system well. I think we'll get good stuff from him.
We're sharing a brain on that. All right, let's finish up here with the NFC South. Let's go Panthers to Bucks to the Atlanta Falcons. I'm fascinated to get your grade on the Panthers. Listen, I didn't love the Tets Mac pick. I thought that at the end of the day, it was a little high, but they're giving Bryce Young some help, so I can appreciate T-Mac going 8th overall. The Bucs always draft well, and I thought they absolutely cleaned up. Falcons took a big risk, a big swing, trading next year's first rounder. They greatly helped out the defense. Give us some takes and some plays here with the Panthers, into the Bucs, into the Falcons.
You're a wise man to tee up my big mouth on 3 teams there. And I can see the clock, don't worry. But I would say the Panthers, the T-Mac pick, it all depends on what you think about him as a prospect. A lot of people love him. A lot of people don't like him at all. And so, if he hits, this is an unbelievable draft, especially because you got the depth, some talent, some upside and edge. So I like what they did. They sort of played the board appropriately while also drafting for need. I thought Jason Light for the Buccaneers, once again, absolutely smashed it. This guy is one of the best drafters in the NFL and doesn't really get enough credit for it. Emeka Egbuka in the first round, they're loaded at wide receiver now, and they can sort of weather the storm while Chris Godwin comes back. You beef up the cornerbacks in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, and then you draft for depth later. The Falcons, I like what they did in a vacuum, just because you get these 2 edge rushers. Like the last time, the last time they had a true pass rusher was freaking John Abraham. So I like going out and getting the guys, but you just really cannot surrender your first round pick. Not when you have the quarterback situation in flux the way it is. So I would dock the Falcons pretty significantly because of that future first. I hate teams that trade away future first to reach for something other than a quarterback.
Love the love you're giving to Jason Light. Had him on my SiriusXM radio show today. Talked to Fontenot from the Falcons about that, what you referenced today. He's obsessed with Penix. And by the way, I'm obsessed with the over here for the win total for Atlanta at 7.5. Will Brinson, you're the best. We appreciate the time, my friend.
Watching Make It Rain on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're Whether you're placing your first bet or you've been playing the ponies for years, VSIN's Kentucky Derby Betting Guide is everything you need to get ahead on Derby Day. Inside the guide, you're going to find a clear breakdown of how to bet on horse racing, great for beginners. Detailed previews of both the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oats. And best bets from top racing experts to help out serious bettors cash in. Guide drops on April the 30th, and it's yours with a VSiN Pro subscription. Start today for just $9.99 and get your first 30 days of VSiN Pro, including the Derby Guide, daily best bets, exclusive betting splits, and more. Just sign up at VSiN.com/subscribe, VSIN.com/subscribe. Welcome back. Make It Rain with Adam Schein. Time right now for our news, notes, nuggets, and nightly plays. And listen, we've got some injury news on the LA Dodgers, and it is not good if you are a Dodger fan or a Dodgers over better for the season. Tyler Glasnow is going on the injured list, joining Blake Snell. And listen, listening to Dave Roberts talk about the injury, you couldn't tell if it was general body soreness, shoulder inflammation, or inflated earned run average. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Glasnow did not look good, giving up a couple of bombs to the Pittsburgh Pirates early in that game on Sunday. Now, we're not going to panic here in terms of the NL West or any plays that we've had with the Dodgers, but it does go noted they started the season 8-0. They've been 11-10 since. Take a look at the National League West and the standings and the odds. Still, LA is a monster, a heavy favorite when you take a look at what is going on out west in the National League. Listen, I still think that the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Giants will all hit their over in terms of win total on the season. And then, of course, you have the Rockies, who are 20 games under 500. Now, the Dodgers did play last night, and they had a monster lead on Miami, and then they blew it, and then you saw Teoscar Hernandez homer for the third straight game, and then they were able to beat the Marlins with Tommy Edman walk-off in extras, which was all sorts of fun. And listen, if you were a Dodgers bettor on the money line, congrats. I don't know who was betting that at minus 290, probably in a parlay somewhere. Run line, I'm sorry, because you had that one kind of in the bank, and that ultimately did not transpire. I will tell you, there are a ton of great pitching matchups tonight and a ton of games in baseball. I'm going full Pete Rose on you tonight, okay? There are a ton of games in baseball that I love and that I'm going to bet on. The Marlins are plus 165 tonight, going up against the Dodgers with Sandy Alcantara on the bump. Will I bet on Miami at plus 165 in LA? Yes. Yes, I will. Mets are the first team to reach 20 wins this season. And the Mets, give them credit, they, at the end of the day, have the best record in Major League Baseball. Brandon Nimmo tied a single-game record with 9 RBI. 19-5 win for the Mets over the Washington Nationals. And if you had the over, congrats. That absolutely hit. Mets and Nats split a 4-game series. Mets and Diamondbacks are going to be engaged in a series that certainly captures my attention. I think both these teams are really good. My final spot in the playoffs came down to Mets, Diamondbacks, Padres, and I took the 2 NL West teams instead of the Mets. Not looking good for me quite yet. Listen, I know the Mets have been amazing this year. Mets have been incredible at home. Wouldn't be surprised to see Arizona take care of business in this one. Yankees lost in Baltimore last night, and Will Warren gave up a homer, and Yankees bats could not really get it done. Yankees really it was just really suffocating to watch as a Yankee fan, just how disappointing the Yankees were when you take a look at everything that transpired for the Yankees and their offense last night. Very disappointed what we saw with the New York Yankees as they lose 4-3 in Baltimore. Carlos Rodon going up against Kyle Gibson tonight. And it's interesting. You look at the strikeouts for Rodon as a potential prop at 6.5. Listen, the Orioles have not been good on offense this year. I would absolutely look at the over there for Rodon at plus money at plus 105. Look, the problem with that bet, obviously, is, you can get a 7-inning gem from Rodon, or if it gives you one of those 3-inning clunkers, it's no bueno. But I do think that when you look at it from a matchup standpoint, that one certainly makes a lot of sense in terms of a potential prop for this game tonight. Now, Aaron Judge is hitting 405, and we haven't hit May 1st yet, but I want you to take a look at the AL MVP odds. I just want you to stare at what we put on the screen. It's minus 600 for Aaron Judge. And I get it. And I picked Bobby Witt Jr. before the season. There is literally nobody else to bet on. You're throwing your money away. I mean, nobody else is going to win the award. Unless, something catastrophic happens that, as a Yankee fan, I don't even want to talk about. Congrats to Aaron Judge on winning the AL MVP. If you love great pitching, like me, you're going to love the Nats and the Phillies tonight. Mackenzie Gore against Zach Wheeler, buckle up, Buttercup. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I can't wait to watch this. I can't wait to bet this. I think the Nationals will be able to win this game. That interests me greatly when I take a look at it. We've got a board filled with all the props for Washington and Philly and Wheeler and Gore. And I can't wait to load up here. Gore to get a win. Gore over the strikeout number, Wheeler over the strikeout number. I think there's a real shot that the under hits for the hits allowed for Gore and for Wheeler. I think this is going to be a tremendous, tremendous game. Same with the Giants and the Padres. Another good one in terms of pitching matchup. And take a look at the pitching props in this one with Logan Webb going up against Nick Pivetta. Padres and the Giants always have some good hates attached when these two NOS rivals are in the mix. I think Webb is absolutely going to rock and roll. The juice, when you look at it tonight, for Webb, minus 120 over 5.5 strikeouts. I think Pivetta will hit his over as well. So we will definitely make some plays on that one when it comes to the pitching tonight for both Pivetta and for Logan Webb. Great pitching tonight. Great action tonight in Major League Baseball. How about the hockey? Panthers able to beat the Lightning to go up 3-1 in the series. And my goodness, I did not see this one coming at all. I've been wrong on this series. I'm disappointed in Tampa. I'm disappointed in how they've played. And, frankly, they were too busy blaming the officials last night. Florida, give Zito, give him all the credit in the world. Give Kachuk credit. Made the Marchand deal Zito did. Just tremendous what we're seeing from the Florida Panthers now up 3-1. And at this stage, it's impossible when you look at the series odds to believe in the Tampa Lightning coming back in any way, shape, or form. How about the hockey tonight? Let's take a look at the NHL playoff slates. And my Maple Leafs are going to absolutely eliminate the Senators. My Leafs, we bet on them, of course, as you know, to go to the Stanley Cup final. Hurricanes will take care of business against the Devils. Listen, I love the Golden Knights. It's been a terrific series to watch. I think the Golden Knights at home, they are the heavy favorite for a reason. And yes, I am obsessed with the Oilers finding a way to win this series. That game was over till it wasn't on Sunday. Draisaitl in overtime. Hell yeah, let's go. Oilers plus 114. You're welcome, America and Canada. Time right now to give out the best bets. Brought to you by G-Bank, official bank of VSIN. G-Bank is up in the all ante with up to a $750 bonus for new G-Bank Visa signature card customers. First new customers spend $1,000 on eligible purchases with 90 days from account opening. Get a $250 bonus. In addition, if you spend $50,000 on the gaming and the sports app loads within the first 30 days of an account opening, you're receiving another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus. Apply now, VSIN.com/GBank, VSIN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. Let's roll with the Nats, baby, and our guy Mackenzie Gore. Let's go with Gore over 6.5 strikeouts at minus 105. Nats on the money line at plus 160, and the Mac attack. Mackenzie Gore. Gory for the bats of the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll take Mackenzie Gore to get a win at plus 275. My goodness. After the show today, we are going to be on the VSiN Watch app. We're going to be watching Follow the Money with Mitch and Paulie. That's going to be unbelievable, as it always is. Zach Cohen and Derek Stevens are going to join the boys. Then it's going to be VSiN Primetime featuring Matty Humans, and then stick around for Cashing Out all night long. Thanks to the guys in Vegas. Nice to Sean to grace us with his incredible presence today. Our incredible producer, the great Mike Cohen. We will talk to you mañana. Make it rain with Adam Schein.